Welcome back, everyone, to Rousing Reads. I'm Nick. Yeah, more to talk about on Hunger of the Gods and the Bloodsworn Saga. It's been, I think, 10 days since I finished the book, and I've tried to get into other books, and I just hung up on this one because it's so good. I can't wait for more, and whenever I try to get into another book, I'm not doing any new books that I start any justice by trying to read it off the back of this one. So I've been kind of taking a break and just thinking more on Hunger of the Gods and the Bloodsworn Saga. What's next? And I wanted to talk more about it. Get some more stuff off my chest because um, I need it. I want to be able to read more books, and I just can't right now because there's just so much left to give for Hunger of the Gods. Um, so I wanted to have more of a discussion on what is going on, um, what we think is going to happen in the future, and some of the things that I missed in the last video was Varg and Varg's growth as a character. And Varg gives us a nice insight to rolling with the Bloodsworn and what things are like for them, and when they need to keep their tainted selves at bay to avoid getting figured out. And it makes me think back to the first book, Shadow of the Gods, when I think Varg was probably a little bit more reckless and couldn't control his anger, and he let the wolf out, more frequently. So I was trying to think back, and I'm thinking of going back and reading through Shadow of the Gods again because how many times did Varg release his inner self, and there might be witnesses left to find out what he actually is. So, um, have some thoughts on that, and I want to know if we're remaining consistent throughout. But yeah, Varg grew a little bit, and Varg's mission is progressing. He's on the trail of uh, who took his sister, which we now know is Brack Trollsbane, and we don't know much more than that. We know that Brack is a bad dude. He was beating up on the youngins, and he's quite the tracker. So Varg will have his handful, and ultimately they have to meet, right? Varg and Brack, and Varg is earless now at the moment, and there are obviously more hints on a sister. Sorry, I'm looking down at some notes I had. And yeah, I think he'll set Ulfr free. And I'm wondering if Varg is one of the characters that might be on the chopping block, right? We're invested in Varg, love Varg. Varg's a great character, but I feel like, with his sister gone, and who knows, maybe there's going to be a little spin, maybe she's not gone. But if his sister is truly gone, then I think once he gets his revenge on Brock, he is, ultimately one of the main characters that you could kill or die off in the next book. I think that's important, right? Like if everybody ends and we find out that um oh, what's her name? Orca. Orca. If we find out that Orca is still alive, then you would think Varg would probably be the one to go. Although, there could be arguments made for Elvar. Let me know your thoughts on main characters and who is most likely to be killed off in the next book. And I don't think Wynn will let anybody die in vain just for the purpose of that happening. But I think in any good story for that impact, I think it is very possible that we do see a main character go. My bets are on Varg, um, and obviously, Orca. Not sure if she lives. Um, I think there are a good amount of people that believe she lives. I'm 50-50. I don't know. I really don't know with Orca. I don't want her gone. I would love to see her, reunite with Brecca, and continue fighting on, but I'm not sure there. Um, so Brecca being double tainted, they mentioned in the book it's pretty rare. We haven't seen any other instances of it, but that's pretty cool. And I'm curious, you know, with obviously everything that Brecca's been through, he's got a lot of anger that he can feed from to unleash both his beasts. And I want to see more of that, how that might give him advantages, and um, yeah, I'm curious if there's going to be a skip ahead in book three. Do you think there's going to be a skip ahead if we're going to if it's going to be years and we're going to be dealing with an older Brecca, a more capable Brecca? Um, is Leek Rifa going to go back to Nastrandir and lick her wounds a bit, and that whole tribe kind of recover for years, and Elvar grow and Snakovic? Or do we think we're picking up right where we left off, and is Leek Rifa marching to Snakovic? Is Elvar gathering a crew and leaving from Snakovic? I'm curious because ultimately Ulfrir and Leek Rifa are meeting, right? It's just a matter of where, and I'm curious how we get to that point um, in the next book. So let me know your thoughts. I mean, do you think there's a skip ahead? How do you think that the final battle essentially, and who knows, it might not be the final battle. Um, Knowing what we know is going on down south, clearly there's something brewing there on that continent. But ultimately, Ulfrir and Leek Rifa have to meet, and I'm just curious where that's going to be, how it's going to play out. Um, so yeah, those are some of the other thoughts I had, and I've been thinking long and hard on this if I would want the Bloodsworn Saga to be played out in a like premium series or a movie. And I've been watching a lot of adaptations recently, and I think the only one that I have been ultimately happy with is Dune. Other than that, at the moment, I am every time I'm disappointed, and I haven't, obviously I haven't been posting a lot of videos recently. I'm trying to get back on more, and I do want to talk about books and their adaptations into movies or um, or shows. And I think, of recent, Dune is the only one that's really nailed it for me. I stopped watching Foundation halfway through. I don't know if I want to say it was bad. I just think coming from the books, it wasn't the foundation that I was expecting. There was a lot more liberties with it, which I understand in a way. Like you look at Foundation, and it's hard to make that into a series with multiple seasons. Like, you're looking at, if you do the adaptation, very faithful to the books for that series, you're looking at, 3 season tops. Whereas you can see they're trying to dive into the characters and be more invested into the characters and grow with characters. And just that wasn't what Foundation was. So that was ultimately a disappointment. And the reason I touch on that is because that was not an underfunded project. Like that was a really good, well-funded project. And for me, it just didn't hit. Um, so I like if this has the budget of Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings. Now, ultimately, it's not going to have those budgets, but if it's done right, the CGI is done well, this could work for me. But it can't be just rushed into it. I'm watching Wheel of Time. I know that didn't have. I watched Wheel of Time, and that didn't have an underfunded budget. But like you're watching like the Trollocs, and there's a lot of quick cuts. It doesn't necessarily look great. Um, I thought the acting was good. I thought the story was good. I think it was, that's more of like a teenage tale where I think that the Bloodsworn Saga is more along the lines, and it could be more along the lines of the adaptation that Game of Thrones got, which was a little more R-rated, although it doesn't need all of that either. And it's not. It's very different than Song of Ice and Fire as it is. But I I would love to see it, but only if it's done right. I don't want to be disappointed. I'm watching the Halo series, and as a Halo, that was like my peak video gaming years. And ultimately, I'm thinking that shouldn't have even been adapted. Like Master Chief is not an ultimate story. And I'm struggling watching this Halo series, and I just don't feel like, and again, not an underfunded project, but I just don't think they spent the money in the right ways. The people that were attached to the project didn't even really play the games. So I ultimately feel that I only want an adaptation if it's going to be done right. And I don't know whether that's a movie form of this, and you do three, like a trilogy, like Lord of the Rings, or if that would be in a series format. So let me know your thoughts. Would you want to see this adapted to the screen? And ultimately, if it was, like, I know things might have to change. Some things work in the books that don't work in film and shows, and I think um, Denis Villeneuve did an awesome job with Dune in that aspect. Some people complain about those Chani dreams that we get in the movie that weren't necessarily in the books, but ultimately I thought that's been adapted awesome so far. And if this gets the right hands on it, I think it would be a phenomenal adaptation, but I'm like crossing my fingers and hoping that it's not just quickly rushed to an adaptation if it ever gets one. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. I think that wraps my thoughts part two on Hunger of the Gods. Uh, I, I tried to read Malice. I'm trying to get into more Gwyn, but ultimately I'm just not ready to take on another book yet. Hopefully soon I will be after I get these thoughts out for Hunger of the Gods, I think I'll be able to move on and read more and give me some recommendations. Anybody who's read the Bloodsworn Saga so far, let me know something similar that I might love in the comments below, and let me know what you think in the comments below for what's next in the Bloodsworn Saga. This about wraps it. I'm Nick from Rouse and Reads, and everybody enjoy and keep reading.